So, Ark Survival Ascended is officially out. I've had some time to play around with it, and now it's time to answer the big question. Was all this fuss and effort worth it in the end? Alright, before we get started, just want to go through a couple disclaimers. First off, it's impossible to make a video like this that's completely unbiased, right? At the end of the day, it's a subjective question. Is something worth it? Well, it depends, right? The game just came out. I'm not going to try to put too much weight into things that are probably going to be changed or fixed later on, but I will make a mention of a couple of them. So without further ado, let's address the elephant in the room, the graphics, the main selling point of Ark Survival Ascended. And looking around, there's no way to deny this. This is certainly a upgrade. Everything just looks better. I'm not one of these guys that's like super deep into textures or whatever, but it just looks better, right? Particularly the water, which I'm going to gush over a little bit later into the video. Though with the graphics update, there's also sort of an acknowledgement that needs to be made that this isn't the same kind of vibe, I guess. I can't think of a better word for it. They didn't just take the textures, make them look better, and improve the water physics. Very clearly, the game looks different, right? It looks much more tropical, much more kind of jungly, right? The color scheme and the palette, they're different. And whether this is a good thing or not, that's really going to come down to the individual person, right? I mean, which art style do you kind of like more? But these graphics do come at a price, so let's talk about performance. Here are the minimum and recommended specs for Ark Survival Ascended. For those that don't know anything about hardware, basically you need a pretty good computer to run it at recommended and a good computer to run it at minimum. Personally, here are my PC specs, and on the lowest settings, the absolute lowest settings, I struggle to get above 40 FPS. Personally, I don't care, but if you do, this is really something to consider. In order to run this game on good quality settings and at a decent FPS, you're going to need at least a $2,000 computer. And while we're on performance, I would like to mention it does crash a lot right now, though I do expect them to fix that in the next couple weeks. If that's something that bothers you, just give them a little bit of time. Now, speaking of the actual game itself, first thing you'll notice when you boot it up is they have completely overhauled the UI. Everything looks completely different, although it is functionally pretty much exactly the same, just with a fresh coat of paint on it. And with the new UI, with one big exception, I think it looks pretty good. It looks clean. The layout of everything is almost exactly the same. It's just sort of different squares and different text in different places, but functionally very, very similar. The only exception is the main menu. I really hate how the new main menu looks. I don't know, it just looks like something out of Fortnite to me, and I don't know. But who cares, right? It's the main menu. It's a nitpick. And then as soon as you join a server, the first thing you'll see is the new character creator. And I gotta say, by far, this is one of the best parts of ASA. Now, you know, I thought the same thing you did when I heard new character creator, and I thought, no, they're not gonna let me make my deformed freaks anymore. But no, it's perfect because you can actually make even more deformed freaks, and you can kind of modify the exact ways in which they've been hit with like Chernobyl level radiation. It's actually quite a good character creator. It lets you customize like how much fat your character has and how much like of each specific muscle group they have, right? Like how big are his lats, how big are his traps. Like this is cool. I like it. And if you're, you know, weird and you want to make a character that doesn't look like a freak, you actually have quite a lot of freedom to make a character that looks sort of like a human being almost. So I think this is a big upgrade no matter where you stand on the spectrum of how you make your character. And as soon as you spawn in, of course, the first thing you'll notice is the new graphics. Looks great. You'll also notice very quickly that the island has been changed. This version of the island really does straddle the line between an update and a new map entirely. Some of the parts, to me, as someone who almost only plays the island on Ark Survival Evolved, are genuinely unrecognizable. I mean, look at this footage right here. They've added a lot of these kind of rock pillars, sort of just adding verticality, I guess, to the island, which is a pretty flat map normally. They've also added a lot of ruins that weren't there before, and the map has just been changed a lot. They really went hard with these like kind of rock pillars. Again, this is a thing to sort of make up your own mind on. Personally, I don't really like it. I prefer just kind of having a simple map where you can get around nice and easy. But I can totally see how some people would think this is adding spice to what is otherwise a boring map. And now for the part of the map that they really made look fucking amazing, the underwater sections. My god, I don't know how they did it. There's not really anything to do underwater in the game still, but they made it look so fucking cool that I want to just go down there and find a reason to be down there. I mean, like, look at this, right? Just the lighting is perfect. The darker it gets, it really feels fucking scary down there, which is perfect because that's what it should feel like when you're at the bottom of the ocean. I could spend the next 5 minutes talking about how fucking cool this is, but you get the point. I mean, you have your own eyes, right? You can see this looks fucking sick. One thing to note, however, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but if you put shadows too low, you can see just straight through the entire ocean. I don't know if this is intentional, if they're gonna patch this, just something to know, I guess. Now, as for the actual gameplay, this has been changed very, very little. Everything still costs the same amount of stuff to craft. Armor still protects you the same. Weapons still do the same damage. They look a little bit different, but that's about it. So as for actual gameplay, you can pretty much just assume it's the same as Ark Survival Evolved. The one big exception is your player character. You can no longer upgrade the movement speed on your character. To me, this is literally the biggest downside of the whole game. It changes how you play the game at a very fundamental level. Like, it just sucks moving around on foot now because every creature can outrun you and chase you down. Maybe if you play PvE, this might not be such a bad thing because you can just view it as extra challenge. But for me, as a PvP player that's more focused on fighting and killing players than fighting and getting killed by every Carno that aggroes to me, this is a very, very bad change. Now, speaking of getting chased down and killed by wild dinos, they have updated the pathfinding for all AI to a very, very good degree. So here I have a Moschops that I've just tamed, and I'm going to take him through the woods. And this is a pretty dense part of the woods. We got rocks, we got trees. Normally, in Ark Survival Evolved, I would not trust the AI to go through this. It's going to get stuck on every tree, every rock. So here we go. I'm just kind of running around it like you might normally, and you can see the Moschops keeps up with me perfectly. So I decide, okay, that's a huge improvement already. So I go and I decide I'm going to actively try to lose this guy. So I start jumping over rocks, running around, like doing my best to intentionally get him stuck. Keep in mind, the Moschops is a creature that cannot jump. And so I go a good distance away, and here we go. This motherfucker finds his way back to me. They really, really did a good job with the pathfinding. I might even start allowing my creatures to follow me now instead of having to individually ride each one of them through a forest. That, I guarantee you, that shit was not easy to program. Next thing to talk about is the building overhaul. Not really anything too revolutionary about it. They just made every wall basically 50% taller, and they changed how the structures look. Not a big thing, actually, if you're making just regular bases and regular houses. However, I will say this does invalidate and reset every little building trick and technique we've learned throughout the ages. I mean, there's guys out there that have fucking made insane structures, and there's no way those can be remade on Ark Survival Ascended. Outside of that, they also introduced a couple quality of life features. To me, the two biggest are this show tab button that you have in your inventory that shows you every debuff you have and explains it, as well as an updated death marker to make it even easier to get back to your dead body. To experienced Ark players, it doesn't really mean a lot because you already know what the debuffs mean and you're pretty good at getting back to your dead body. But I think for new players especially, this is going to be huge. They also introduced this sort of photo mode where you press escape, press photo mode, it like pauses the world around you. You can go a certain distance away from your player character. It's a pretty well built out photo mode, and you can actually get some really good shots with this. Not a huge thing for me, but I know there's definitely people out there that alone is enough to just buy the game. There's also kind of some miscellaneous things that don't really fit into any of those categories, like your character. When you're low health, he's got like visible cuts and scrapes on him. There's baby dinos out in the wild. Drops have been given animations for deploying the loot and after they've been looted, and the contents of their inventory has been changed to contain more kind of general use stuff that's useful to more people. But there's quite a lot of disappointment too that I have in this game. A lot of the bugs that have been in the game forever are still there, and it's just such a bad sign because one of the big reasons they made this game was to fix a lot of the bugs. I mean, you have stupid bugs like titans still fall from the sky. When you make a new character, you have to log out and back into the server to be able to grab notes with them. To me, hit reg still hasn't been fixed. You'll shoot an arrow at something, the arrow will hit, don't get a hit marker, and then you shoot an arrow on your screen, the arrow misses, you get a hit marker. This shit still happens. Also, there's a lot of new bugs. You can get this sort of bone cancer looking thing on your character. They broke the favorites tab on the server browser. You'll press refresh, it'll say no servers. You press refresh again, it'll show a server. Very disappointing that the game is actually almost more buggy than Ark Survival Evolved because it has all the old bugs and then it's actually got a couple new ones too. And that's not including that it crashes a lot. It crashes about every 20 minutes that I play. Granted, they'll probably fix that last one, but with the other ones, I really am not hopeful. Some of these bugs are, at this point, literally from the previous game, literally 8-year-old bugs at this point. They're not going to be fixed. They promised us that there would be a queue system for the servers, which is just a lie. There still isn't a queue system. If you try to join a server and it's full, it'll just give you an error message and that's it. The only way to get in is to press the join button, keep spamming it, and hope that you get lucky that when someone leaves, you press it at the perfect time to get in. It's very, very, very disappointing to release a new game and say, all right, we're starting fresh. This is a good opportunity to fix all the old bugs, and then you don't fix any of the old bugs. The server situation is also just abysmal. There's no two ways around that. And this, I think, is going to be the real killer for most people. So the long and short of it is that Nitrando, which has for a long time been acknowledged as the worst server hosting company, has a literal monopoly in hosting servers in Ark Survival Ascended. A while ago, Wildcard got in a lot of debt with Nitrando, and I think this is them working it out right now. But basically, what it means is that if you want to host a dedicated server, you can only host it from Nitrando. Every other server provider is not allowed to host servers for this game. And you go, okay, well, I've got a decent spare computer in my back room. I'll just host a local dedicated server. That's funny, because what you have to do is you have to apply for a fucking license to host a local dedicated server. And let's say you decide, okay, well, fuck it. I'll just buy from them. The minimum slots that you are allowed to host on a Nitrando server is 26 fucking slots. Imagine it's just you and 3 of your buddies that occasionally want to hop on. The lowest you can get is 26 fucking slots. Meaning the cheapest possible option, and really your only option for a dedicated server, is going to cost you $26 a month. They really are absolutely squeezing you dry here. Take away your ability to host the server yourself, and then force you to buy way more slots than you need. This is an insane downgrade. It really fucking sucks. Because it's not a technical problem, it's not that they couldn't fix something in time. This is just fucking, they owe someone a favor, and now they're fucking us over so they can pay off that favor. Now keep in mind, it doesn't cost anyone anything to just allow you to host a fucking program on your own fucking computer. But you know, they don't actively get money out of you doing that, so they don't allow it. However, there's an exception. If you're a YouTuber with at least 10,000 followers and 5,000 views per video, you are allowed a license to host your own server. Hooray. Okay, and let's just say you're a PvP player who, you know what, you don't really care about hosting and stuff, you just play on official servers, and your main concern is the cheating. Please, dear God, tell me they fixed the cheating. That shit was absurd. No, it's just as bad as before. People have figured out how to aimbot and disable INI already. And disabling INI is going to be even worse in this game, because look at how thick a jungle is for someone that hasn't gone and fucked around with their files. And then look at this guy, he can just fucking see around like it's Kansas or something. So then we come to the final question. Is Ark Survival Ascended worth it? And the answer is maybe for some people. You know, someone like on single player, they don't worry about the servers, they don't worry about the cheating. Yeah, I mean, it probably is worth it for them, but it really is hard for me to actively recommend this game to anyone. Just a lot of the things they promised they would do, they didn't. Cheating still sucks, there's no queue system, and servers are so fucking bad. And that's assuming your computer can even run it in the first place, right? If I had to just boil it down to the simplest terms possible, I would say 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. A lot of areas that desperately needed improvement have been improved. Then they've made some changes that I really didn't like with movement speed. And then there's a lot of things that they just broke with the servers especially. So all in all, make your own decisions. I really cannot recommend Ark Survival Ascended.